all kinds of help. And some of you have gotten little emails, and some of you have gotten Jennifer calls, not Jennifer Brewer, Jennifer Haynos calls. Here, let me just give you a little overview of what's happening. There is going to be 3 elements. There'll be a Megillah reading, there'll be a spiel, which this year is a political satire on our elections. So if you like that kind of thing. And then there will be a big carnival, bigger than we've ever done before. Meaning there'll be Hamantash and stuff going on in here, but the entire old building will be devoted to children's festivity. So it's like triple the effort that we've ever done because we just like to go crazy. That said, it's still the basic, Leah, Shoshana, Jen, and Christina. So still the same format on board. So every kind of adult help is needed. Specifically, those of you, some of you have emailed, would you please take a part in the spiel or the Megillah reading? I have parts that I'd like to give out. But there's also help for people who would like to help set up Hamantash, help in a booth, help with faith meeting. There's all kinds of things. We're doing a little mitzvah project too, which I think some of you saw last year. We use macaroni and cheese as groggers, and people pay $1 to get a box of macaroni and cheese, and then at the end they donate back their box of macaroni and cheese and the $1, and then that gets given to tzedakah, and the macaroni and cheese gets given to the food pantry. So if you're interested in doing that part of it. The last thing I'll say is that for many of you parents here, you'll be relieved to know that we're not doing the tchotchkes. Meaning, if your kid throws a beanbag, you're not going to get a squishy frog. Instead, bummer, I don't like squishy frogs. Instead, what will happen is that they're going to earn mitzvah shekels. And the mitzvah shekel is a whole new concept. So, like when they win, they get a little sticker, which in the lobby will be 4 or 5 different posters. So there's like Save the Dogs, help build a well in Africa, help with domestic violence, or whatever it's going to be. There'll be different social justice causes, and they put their sticker, their shekel, on that poster. And then what we'll do is we'll divide up the money according to, whatever the will of the people is by what they've won. So that's what we have. It's a whole new way of looking at it, and it really does advance many positive things. And I don't think any of us need any more little plastic tchotchkes floating around in our house. So, thank you. So that's all that's going on. It's a massive effort, and it's next Sunday from 10 to 12. And I hope that everybody will come. It's really not just for kids, it's meant to be our congregation-wide event. So everybody, adults, everybody's invited. All right, so now we will bravely, does anybody have any questions about anything? Oh, thank you. Yes, I knew there was a connection. Thank you for helping make these important leaps. No, there won't be but I'm hoping that everybody in this class will still come, and those who would like to take part in any aspect of it. And then the week after that, there is. And we're bravely pushing ahead. We're really almost finished with this book and getting ready to start with the prayer section. All right, so let's talk about chapter 9. I know that some of you have already moved ahead, which is great. And what I want to do is really just start at the very beginning. There's a lot of recap that I think we should just take a very quick look at. Jonathan, do you want to, so we're on page 86. Jonathan, do you want to read? We're going to start with just the names and the sounds of the consonant, and we'll just go around the room. You don't have to say the name. You can just say the sound that consonant makes. Ma.
Ma. R.
Nice job, Charlotte. You look down.
What was that?
You just stayed silent.
The next one.
Kim is also silent. Thank you. No, you went the third regular first. Good. 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 So good.
So?
D.
Yeah?
Wait, what's that sound?
Why?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Good, good, good.
Yes.
Yes.
Cut.
Good.
Cut.
Good. Excellent. So that's all of the consonants. Now let's do the vowels by grouping. Trish, do you want to come and join our group? Do you have a message for the people? Bring us a message. Coming in?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody knows Rabbi Shoshana Hammond, who's our, I don't know these folks, our communications director.
Yes, she did.
I just, if anybody, at the conclusion of this class, if anybody has a few minutes to donate, if they have nothing to do while hanging out at this lovely place, if anybody wants to do a couple of, or one poster, for all of our mothers who didn't show up to make posters, so we would love to have.
Okay, good. So what, we already, you guys can pull chairs up, pull chairs up. I gave them a little prelude to what's happening with the forum. Some of our people here are going to be in the skit, some are going to be in the spiel, and some may be wanting to help volunteer in any parable. So which we begin this afternoon. What she's talking about, remember I mentioned about the tzedakah posters and about the posters for the different booths? She's hand stenciled all of these, and we, again, have limited crew to help with that. So if anybody will stay for a few minutes, and we can set up in here, we can do posters in here, wherever. Yeah, you stencil everything, you just need color or inners. Color or inners. Nobody has to.
No.
It doesn't have to be in Hebrew, you can just color in your nose. And then we don't say. Oh, you want them to color there?
You sit there.
Well, that's what the kids already said, 2 kids are saying. Thank you, thank you. Okay, good. So now we'll do the vowels. Let's start with the first cluster. Okay, are we with you? Jim's fine. Okay, those are all O's, good. We'll go backwards. Good. Wait. This is tricky, guys. This is tricky.
Yeah.
Those are the O's.
Those are the O's. Does everybody see how that's tricky? Okay, good. Good.
We're doing vowels.
Silent, good.
Oh, wait.
Ooh, good.
Cute.
Where are you?
How did you get to ooh? Are we starting at the bottom? I know. I did ooh.
Okay, I'm doing that with doing E.
That's today.
And I'm doing A.
Good.
What?
I. When they're at the end of the word,
I, yeah.
good. Now, these are a bunch of words that we've already learned. So let's just go, we'll do the same thing. We'll go through and read them. Do you want to start with the first one?
Shabbat.
Good.
That's you.
That's me. Shalom.
Surprise. Good.
Torah.
Oh, we're on the fourth word on the first
Oh,
line.
no. Oh, we're
Up
here.
page, here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah,
Right there.
Okay. Is it Shem?
It can be pronounced Shem or Shem.
Shem.
With the 2 dots, sometimes it'll be a and sometimes it'll be a, which is more just on people's preference.
Yeah, Shem doesn't.
Shame sounds funny to you?
Yes.
Yeah. It's because you have been exposed to like more conversational people, which would be shame. By the way, let's say what it means. So where did we start with? Elizabeth, Shabbat is Shabbat. Okay, and Shalom.
Hello, goodbye, or peace.
Good. And Torah is
Torah.
Torah. Okay. Yes, it's actually translated. But now we come to the hard one. What is Shem? Name. Good. Shema. And do you remember what Shema is? Besides the, that's right. We have the kids do all the time. That's right. Wait, do that again. Does everybody remember what we did here? Sounds like. It's like listen or hear or heed.
Listen up, people.
Baruch.
Do you remember what Baruch is? Praise or blessed. Good. Yes. That's good. That's good. Yes. Yes. That's it. And you said one more syllable at the end. Good. Now, but between Baruch and Barakah, you see the same root there. So does anybody remember what Barakah is? do you remember what teshuvah is? Teshuvah is something you hear a lot about on Yom Kippur, or we might know it as tshuva, doing teshuvah. What is teshuvah? Does anybody remember? Return. It's from the root shuv, to return. And when we say we're making teshuvah, we're not so much repenting as returning to the way that we are meant to be. Good, good. Next one. Ahava. Good. Do you remember ahava? Love. That's also, you'll hear that as a name, a Hebrew name. Ahava or ahuva will be a female. Yes. Let's start with the next one. How about the next one?
Mitzvah.
Okay, and mitzvah is what? It's often translated as a good deed, but it comes from the root tzav, which is to command. So it's literally a commandment, but in practice, it's often translated as a good deed. Good, good. Which one did I say?
Chayim.
And what is chayim?
Lives.
Yeah, and it's life. And you'll hear lots of times the drinking toast, l'chaim, to life. Good. And the last one? Good. And what's this? Good. So tzedakah comes, it's often associated as giving charity, but it comes from the root tzedek, which means, I heard it in the back there.
Justice.
Justice. Right. So it's the notion that in giving charity, we're actually bringing justice to the world. We're helping to even out some of those haves and have-not situations. Which I should also thank those of you who contributed to the Midnight Run, which we had on Friday. It was very, very successful. I'm very much a hands-on of helping to even out some of those gaps of haves and have-nots, to take a group of teenagers into the city in the middle of the night and let them hand out all of your contributions. Good. So now we kind of went over, you have it here on the bottom, this notion of the roots of these words. Now let's jump into our new letters, which thankfully aren't so new. So this chapter introduces 3 new letters. The letter Shin, which was introduced in the first chapter with the dot on the right-hand side, now we're going to see it with the dot on the left-hand side. And it will make a S sound as opposed to a sh sound. So you see how it's exactly the same, and it's pronounced sin as opposed to shin. And you might think of it, I know that this has helped some people, it may confuse other people.
Right.
Okay. If you think of San Francisco versus Chicago, for those of you who have a geographic bend,
Oh, that's brilliant.
that's where the dot is. I was thinking where the dot is. It's like so this would be more like Chicago. And this would be more like San Francisco. Does that help?
I wasn't here this
It depends on how you talk.
Obviously, it wasn't that memorable because I can't remember. Well, I have a problem.
So everybody sees
That is brilliant.
So if this is the model, San Francisco, you're Chicago.
It's going to help you. It's intuitive.
It's going to help me. I don't mean that.
Now, what's that back?
But
All you have to do is
yeah, but actually it's not. Yeah, and some people could like, so this will be Chicago here. This is San Francisco.
St. Louis.
San Francisco.
Oh, that's Don't say St. Louis.
So, and in any case, in the case of where we don't have dots
about the
or
fall.
vowels, it also won't.
What's up?
Can you help me with the, you need technical support? Run. Annie? I can't work it. Okay, so what's a little screen? Thank you so much. Okay, good. Now that leads us to the next one. Now this is a little tricky because this also makes an S sound, but it's a samach. It doesn't at all look like anything to do with shins and sins. It's the same sound. We've seen that before with like a kaf and a kuf, where there's a very few, but there are a couple of letters that make the same sound. Then we come to a pei, which is making a an F sound, and it shouldn't say pay here, it should say fay.
You say fay.
And I'm not sure why it says pay. Pay is when it has a dot in it, and fay is when it doesn't have it. Yeah, that's actually very confusing. Does everybody understand that? What is it calling it on the chart? Okay, that's actually, you guys see the chart in the back? I think that's a better description of it.
It says fay.
But it still says pay.
But it says fay.
Yeah, so it says fay.
And then you have it in its final form too. And you could have a final fay or a final pay. Basically, the dot makes it a p sound, and the no dot makes it an F sound. P versus that sound. Is that, again, you're a little confused. There's no final thing with the dot, though, is there?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
I'm trying to think of a word that I know that.
They don't have it.
It's not showing it as a final p sound. The words that I know that have it are acronyms, meaning they're not real words. It's a word that, it's a sound that they'll make that's 3 letters, and the last one is a P, but it's not a word. Do you know what I mean like that? Okay, so does everybody see what we're doing there? Now, let's go into these look-alike letters. The final men and the samech are very similar. Here's how you'll remember them. That the samech is rounded on the bottom, and that the final mem only appears at the last letter. So if it's in the middle of the word, it has to be a samech, because it's very, very similar. Now, this font here makes a very round bottom for the samech. Almost like a shield. Some fonts won't have that. Some fonts, it'll be like, that'll be, and then straight. You see how this is just a little rounded off, and the bottom is straight? It just depends a little bit on the font style. But in any case, this will always be rounded here. And this will never, sorry, the final mem will never be in the middle of it. Let's read something, and I think, yes.
The sound can be at the end of the word?
Yes. Yes. Just to make it a little more fun. That's right. Sorry. Yes. There we go. Now, let's read some of these out loud. I think we can do a whole line. Let's do a whole line with starting with A. I remember where that was.
So,
You can just say the sound.
just say the sound, okay. So, sh. This is a sh. Everyone around me is saying the sound. That's just, right? Just a screen, there you go. Okay, that's.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't confuse. That's it. Thank you.
Good. Bringing the new material into the brain has to absorb it slowly. That's okay.
Okay, so, f. Oh, it's this one, okay, sorry.
Good.
No. No.
Good. And that's actually an easier way to do it. Just pretend there was an vowel underneath it.
Sonic. Z, right? K, F, F, H, D, S, M, San Francisco.
Oh, that's not good.
Su. So. Sai.
This would be more like say.
Say. Fa. Bi.
Yeah, that one after the say, the double dot there would be like fey. Yeah, more like fey.
Fei. This way. With the two dots.
Yeah.
Fei. Alright, now I'm on the.
You're the second tip up.
The.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we're back to Fei. No.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
No. We got
No.
Five.
The end.
Yeah.
third from the left.
Third from the last. Oh, okay, yeah. Alright, now.
Five.
Oh. And fa.
Good. Good.
He, fe, se, si, he, fi, fu, pu, pe. Oh, there's a thing there.
Oh, there's a dot on top. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fu,
Good.
po, po, right?
Oh, that's right.
So, say, and fei.
Excellent. Good. Do you want to start with these longer combinations on F?
So, to, o, a, ka, na, leaf.
Good, good. And you guys can start to recognize some of these. Like soph, when we say like mem sophi, soph is the end or final. Okay, good. Let's do G.
Shum. Sum. Sus. Moose. Nace. Nace. Case. Case. Kes. Yes.
Good, good. And the third word in on that line, sus, is the word for horse. Helpful to know. Okay, let's do H.
Feet. 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 Legs. Left. Set. Step. Set.
Now, what's that final letter? The final five. Good.
Set.
Good, good,
And say.
good.
Say.
Side, because it's the last one.
Side.
Because there's no other constant, there's no nothing before.
I. Side. So side.
High, fly, fair, save, soft, hot, cold. Good, good. Now, these are a little bit longer. Do you want to be a little bit? Sure. Now, Now, give the first schwa like a b'nai, but like a good, good, seif. Good. Wait, say that one again? Oh, no, that's the first letters of ha. Good. Good. Good, good. Does anybody know what harif is? Does anybody know that? If you go like to a hummus stand or to any kind of thing and you ask for harif, it means like that very, very spicy, like we say in Spanish, like picante. And it's that you can sprinkle harif onto anything. It could be in a sauce form, it can be in powder form. Harif means that you want it spicy. So if you're ordering something, you say harif. Be careful, it's Middle Eastern spicy. It's really like, take the skin off your mouth spicy. Okay, good. We're on N. I'm sorry, L, sorry. Sigur. 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 Good. And everybody knows what Sigur is, right? The little prayer books that we pray out of. It's the same word for Sidur and Seder. You hear the root now. And it means order. Because the Seder is in a certain order, and the Sidur is in a certain order. And the next word after it, Sipur, is a story. The Sipur is story. Good. Let's see next one. Yeah. Mulusar. Mulusam. Mulusas. Muluvas. Muluvam. Good, good. And it's good that Jonathan had this one. The second word, rofeh, is doctor. That's a good word to know if you're ever over there. So rofeh. And you know when we say the Mishaberach, refuah, shlema, rofeh, refuah, can you hear it? It's healing. You know, the shlema, shalom, full, complete. So refuah, shlema means a complete healing. A rofeh, a doctor, is a healer. Okay, so let's do the next line. Say the last consonant. Good, good.
Asaer, Yisaer, Yisaru, Yisahaku.
Good. Don't worry, it's not a speed. This is not like when I was going for competition. That would sound very nice. Now, can you make that a little more ooey? Yeah, yeah. Try that. Good. Very, very good. Now we come to a nice little break here where we can learn another Hebrew word and also a root. And the word, can somebody read that word in the middle of that line there? Would somebody like to try that? Tefillah, good, good, good. And you probably know, this is the Hebrew word for prayer. Tefillah, you're going to have tefillah down. Tefillot would be the plural. And it comes from the root fe, lamed, lamed, which has the meaning of judge and think, in addition to meaning supplicate or entreat. Thus, prayer in Hebrew encompasses a broad range of inner experience, including self-examination and reflection, in addition to reaching out to the one beyond oneself. It is interesting how the root of words, how understanding the shoresh, the roots in Hebrew, gives you a much broader concept of what the idea is ideas behind it. And you'll see subtle differences by understanding the roots. So if we look at the English word prayer, and we can think of like the French prière, you know, that sense of almost begging. It's different. Tefillah is a little different. There's a subtle nuance here that you get it in Phelan Lamed.
Why is it Lamed?
Ah, good. So the head, remember we said that roots typically will have three radicals or three consonants. Consonant isn't the right word because one can be a non-consonant. But anyway, the hey is what's happening to the last lamed when you have a double, a root that has a lala or kaka like that. The double, yeah. And in the last one, we'll do that. Good. Now, let's just take a quick peek on page 89 from the High Holidays. The following excerpt is from the Unetane Tokef, prayer in the High Holiday. In this one, you know, I can't copy exactly how the cantor does it, but as soon as I do it, he'll say in a really loud voice, Unetane Tokef. Do you know that prayer that he does? And it's like kind of piercing sound. That's the prayer called Unetane Tokef. So notice that it contains the word tefillah and teshuvah and tzedakah, all of which are introduced in this book with the prefix u, right, attached. All but two letters of the last word of this quote have been introduced. So they want you to catch on to three things here. One, they want you to know that, oh wow, I can read a lot of the High Holiday liturgy now. They want you to feel that. But they also want you to get three concepts that now you understand at a much different level. The concept of teshuvah, meaning not repent as much as return. Return, and that's why you notice like the annual cycle, it's every year we come back to Rosh Hashanah. Every year we come back to that starting place. It's a very different concept of repenting, of like, oh, I'm going to try to be good. It's not that. It's like cycling back to our best selves. Tefillah, which has a very broad range of meanings of what prayer is, and tzedakah, which is this idea of righteousness that we realize through our deeds. It's not just have a righteous thought, we have to have deeds as well. So those are three concepts that are embedded in the High Holiday themes, the High Holiday liturgy, and in these shorishes, in these roots. But they want you to catch on to a third thing, which is this u ending. And I know we've talked about it before, but let's read this line and then we'll contemplate what it means to have a suffix of u in light of the High Holidays. Would we like to read this all together? Okay, let's try that. U teshuvah, u tefillah, u tzedakah, na'aviri et yorah ha-gezerah. So in this case where it says, but repentance, because it's hard to say return here, and prayer, and again they use the word charity. Sometimes in English translations they will use glosses, because it would sound weird to say, but return and prayer and righteousness. It doesn't sound quite right, because we're thinking in English. Cancel the severity of the decree. So we've said that when u is at the end of the word, it is, I said suffix. So when u is at the end of the word, as in new, it means us or our. It's first person plural. But when it's in the beginning, u is the same as the, which means end.
So, but it means but also?
Yes. Which can be confusing because in English, but and introduce two very different concepts. And is inclusive and but is creating this but not that. So it can mean and in this case you'll see it means and this, and that, and this. But the can also mean but. At the end of the word, it'll usually be with a nun and a u, and it means ours or us. Eloheinu, our God.
So is it ut or ut? Good.
I am pronouncing it ut shuvah as opposed to ut shuvah. Yeah, and it's because of the meaning of it that I'm pausing there. And that sounds right.
So you said ut teshuvah?
Yeah. Which is a little a little bit confusing because in English we have words that stand alone, like and tzedakah, and charity, right? And so we would have and then the next word. But in Hebrew, those prepositions and other types of words can be lumped onto one word. Nonetheless, at times where we know that it's a separate word, it feels more correct to make that pause. And that's hard to do when you don't understand the actual meaning of the words. But this you've heard it chanted before, and you'll hear now when the high holidays come, and you hear how the cantor chants it, sings it, then you'll hear that little bit of a pause.
And it how do you not ooh?
How do I know it's
So it's ooh and not boo. It's not.
because there would be a second va.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah. It won't be serving as a vowel and a consonant at the same time. That's a good question. Okay, now let's take a quick look at what it's going to say about vowels. This part also takes a little concentration. This chapter does not introduce a new vowel sound. Instead, it introduces an exception to the usual way of pronouncing vowel and consonant combinations. So what's the normal way of pronouncing a vowel-consonant combination? What do we normally do?
Consonant first and then the vowel.
Right. So consonant first and then the vowel. So this would be sh, ah, sha. Right? Now we all intuitively know that. But a few weeks ago you didn't. Right? And now what's happening is there's a very rare exception. So we're going to learn the exception where it's not consonant vowel, but vowel consonant. This will seem really mind-altering at this stage because you're so used to consonant vowel. But in English you do it both ways. But now in Hebrew you don't really do it, except for this.
And they could have made it simpler by putting an aleph before it.
Right, that would be all. That would be a solution to this problem. When the letter when the letterhead appears at the last letter of a word and has the vowel written under it, the vowel is sounded before the consonant vowel not the T vowel but the instead of the usual pronunciation of the Hebrew vowel sound after the consonant. Words that end in are usually accented on the syllable preceding the You hear how I'm saying and not Do you hear the difference? Okay. So, sounds like as in ba at the beginning of the word, or sounds like as in ba. Anyway, this does not help me at all. Let's practice reading some of these out loud. Then you'll see, you know better than what this looks like. Let's go word by word on this one. This is a little tricky. Would we like to start on line A? Where did we leave off? Okay, so just do one word. Everybody just do one word so you can have this experience. Okay, wait. So let's start with one.
C.
C. Now remember how these are going to be Good. Good. And siach is a special. You see how this? Now this next word you'll know, Tracy. Do this next word. Wait, does everybody know ruach? Spirit? Right. You'll give me some ideas about ruach.
Luah.
Good.
Moa.
Wait, what is that vowel?
Moa.
Good.
Ureha. Ureha. Nothing like I said. Ureha.
Good. Did everybody hear? Wait, say it again really loud. This one's a little bit longer. Go ahead.
Ureha.
Good.
That's about, you can hear the ray.
Yes.
Borea.
Good.
Yarea.
Good. And I think you guys know Yarech is moon. And sometimes you'll hear, there's a song that we have at Okay. Charlotte, are you okay to start in B, line B?
Okay.
Oh, that's a hard one.
Yes, we do here.
The schwa, so it's kind of a sign
We're having a committee report here on this one. Okay.
I love it. It's like a Greek chorus over here.
Yeah, okay, so do it all together.
Mashallah.
Good, perfect, that's it. Good, good. There, yeah, do it again, the second time is right there.
You have a hey.
Good, good, that's it, that's it. Excellent. Yeah, this confuses the brain. Good, good. What's interesting is when we do one thing like this to the brain, you'll see it kind of scrambles up everything else. We realize how fragile our thinking is. We sort of have these links here in our mind, and we change one thing, it's like, oh, the whole building's going to crumble. But hang on, it won't crumble. We're used to it. Okay, let's keep going. Good.
Hitvakeach. Korea.
Good.
Solech.
Good. Good. Good.
Maria.
Good. Good. And the shaliach is the emissary, like the girl who we have from Israel. Every year we get somebody from Israel, a girl or a guy, a young teenager, pre-army, works here, they're our shaliach.
Matzviah.
Good.
Noach. Noach.
Good. Good.
Mishloach.
Good. Very good. So key phrases from Jewish life. There are two phrases commonly used in Jewish religious life that contain the ach and the introduced above. One is the greeting used on festivals and holidays other than Shabbat. The last letter of the first word has not yet been introduced, but we know it's a g sound. So who can say, if you see somebody for any holiday, you can say this. Sameach, right? So Sameach. Do you hear how it's not Samecha? It's Sameach. Oh, it should not be chai, it should be cha. Cha. Yes, yes, yes. Unfortunately, yes. No. Deliberately, they wanted you to get the ah. That would really mess up your mind. Yes. Well, it's coming. I think it's coming. But Sameach, Chag Sameach, you know that. This next one you also know. The other word is a word of encouragement, so the other phrase, I should say, which is offered in the synagogue to someone who has received an honor, like a ritual honor, such as being called up for an aliyah, like for the blessing for the Torah, but sometimes we say it at other times. Does anybody know how to say this one? Yesher koach. You heard Yasher koach? Yeah. Has anybody heard that expression? Yesher koach? Yeah. So, Yishar koach. So, koach is the word for strength. Koach is the main thing they want you to know here. And Yishar, from the word Yashar, which means upright. So it's like the verb of that. So what Bruce is saying is that Yi sounds weird here. Say Yishar koach. And in saying it, it's usually here. How would you have heard it normally? Yashar koach. And Gary, how would you have
I would normally say Yosher koach.
Yosher koach. And it's interesting, I would hear it more like Yesher koach. And so what this is showing us is that one, the Y vowel, the Yud vowel at the beginning of a word, especially, followed again by the Y consonant, followed by a vowel, because Yod can be very quickly morphed, as opposed to a K sound. You'll hear those kind of variants. But I agree with Bruce that the Yi would seem weird to me. I've heard the other variants that you guys said, and what I've
But the second year that's part of the vowel.
yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How
And
would
that's
you
why
say?
it seems too Yi-ish.
Yeah.
How would you say it one more time?
I would say Yesher koach.
Yosher.
Like almost more walk down from the bima, and people will shake their hand. Have you ever noticed that? Not just relatives, not like if it's like your bar mitzvah, just whoever is you're getting. And you're saying, here the literal term, may your strength be upright, but it's really a way of acknowledging that if people didn't take honors in a service, there couldn't be a service. That actually, what you're doing when you accept an honor in the service is you enable the community to maintain its worship experience. You're actually like part of building that thing. And it's a very quick thing, and you'll see it was very sweet. We had a little boy come up and do something on the bima. Maybe he was in Parkour or something like that. But he was there with his grandfather and all his family. And he must have been like 3 or 4. And when he came down, the old man shook his hand. It was so sweet. Because they had grown up in that tradition. It's a lovely tradition. And feel free to do that. Even if the person coming off the bima is not quite sure what you're doing. We will only, because we'll only be able to maintain traditions if we enact them. We can't theorize about them. It's in the doing of them. And the first time you might be like, ooh, my hand for it. But then after that, you too will become like that. And when you see it, everybody sort of acknowledges that this is a beautiful thing. A very simple, beautiful thing. Anyway, so that's enough about Yisher Koach. You can now read another basic Jewish vocabulary word, which comes from the same root as the word sameach, in the Hebrew expression above. So sameach, you heard. What is this word? Simcha, right. So so the word simcha is a noun meaning rejoicing or happiness, and it appears in several passages in the prayer book and in many holiday songs. This word is also used sometimes to mean a joyous occasion, as in people throw the syllable, the accent a little bit forward, like as in, oh, we're having a simcha, right? But also maybe anybody here might have a child or know somebody who has the Hebrew name Simcha. I think part of Lee's Hebrew name is Simcha. And it's a beautiful name to give somebody. It's like happiness or joy. It's a boy name. This is also used sometimes to mean, okay, in this sense, one can hear the word and used to refer to the celebration surrounding joyous events, such as a baby naming, or a wedding, or a bar mitzvah, or a bar mitzvah. So that's what simcha is. Yes, exactly, like mazel tov on your simcha kind of thing, that's right. And it's funny, it's one of those words that you'll see written in English letters on a greeting card, but you see here that it's where its root is. So that's exactly right, that's exactly it. Rejoicing with the Torah. Right? Now, you'll notice, and thank you for reading that, so simcha becomes simchat Torah. When a noun is made into a compound noun, 2 nouns come together like fire and man becomes fireman. In Hebrew, the final letter of the first fire becomes a t sound. So instead of simchat Torah, it would be simchat Torah. That's how, and that compound noun in Hebrew is called the smichut, and it's very common to make smichut. Okay, so you have now learned the letters for a very common, now on the bottom box. For another common Hebrew verb, this is also a root, of the ayin, sin, hey. The root has the meaning of to make or to do or to act. It appears frequently in the Bible. So the song Oseh Shalom is spelled with this. So what is Oseh Shalom? We know Shalom is peace. Make peace or do peace. And Oseh Shalom, that's what it is. And it comes at the end of the Kaddish. Oseh Shalom b'mamav, Oseh Shalom. So this Oseh is make or do or bring or create. Sometimes we're saying, God, you make peace, and sometimes we're saying, we are doing something. Do you know what I'm saying? But that verb, Oseh, is the same. So the following are examples of Hebrew words using ayin, sin, hey. When the letter hey is the last letter of a root, it sometimes does not appear in words formed from that root. In some of the examples below, the letter hey has dropped out, and only the root letters ayin and sin remain. So we've spoken a little bit about these root things, and it's a pretty good system, but it's not perfect. By not perfect, I mean it's about 85% consistent. Remember we mentioned something about if these two are the same, and if this, now they're telling you another exception. If this is a hey, it will drop. Okay? So if we look at some of these words, ma'aseh, you have the prefix of a mem. The prefix of a mem takes the idea of making a verb into a noun. So it's not to do, but it's the deed here, or the act of the story, ma'aseh. Ma'asi is practical or feasible, workable. Ma'asiyah is a fairy tale or legend. Ma'asiyut is practicability, feasibility. Ma'aseh Bereshit is the act of creation. The ma'aseh is actually, or in fact. Ein ma'asot. There's nothing that can be done, it can't be helped. Ein ma'asot. And that is a really common expression in Hebrew. Ein ma'asot. And something happened, you go, ein ma'asot. There's nothing that can be done. Nothing can be done about that. You'll hear that a lot. Oh well. Yeah, somebody said that. It has that feeling of oh well. And ta'asiyah is industry or manufacturing. But again, you keep seeing the ayin, sin, and in some cases the hey, in some cases not. But you see how in English, if you were to take this list in English and cover up this and just look at this, you don't see the commonness of the words. But by seeing the Hebrew, again, by starting to understand a little bit about the Hebrew, you see the underpinnings of how these connections are made. Now let's jump to page 91, and we're going to look for this root oseh in each of the following prayers. The number of occurrences of the root in each excerpt is indicated in parentheses. In some cases, the letter hey is dropped, and only the root letters ayin and sin remain. In most cases, prefixes or suffixes are attached. And again, just to be clear that we understand what prefix and suffix are doing, when there's a prefix or suffix here, it can do so many things. It can give you gender, it can give you number, it can give you tense, it can create a verb into a noun, it can give you mood, and it can also add on other words, like the word and or but. So all of that makes Hebrew a very dense language, because packed into one word with a little prefix, a little suffix, you get all of that. So now let's look at the Ma'an Tizkeru from Numbers 15, verse 40. Who sees it, the one and only occurrence here? Did you see it? You tried it? Yeah. Very good. Let's read this together. I think you can almost read all of these letters now. We'll go very slowly. Plus, some of you will know this from some of the worship experiences. So let's read this very, very slowly. Le'ma'an tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'lohechem. Did you see? You could read almost all of that. This is good. Look at the may tag in that first word, le'ma'an, that vertical line there. Okay, now this is the Shabbat Kiddush, which the kids call the long Kiddush, and it shows up here once. This is the one that, for those of you who have sons and daughters, they do this on the Friday night. And when we don't know, it's for kids, we do it together. It's okay. Does anybody see it there?
It's the second to last word.
Yeah, good. That's right. Lema'aseh. Let's read this one together, because I think you'll know most of these. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu. That's interesting. It's broken up. V'tzivanu. V'veratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho ve'ahava uvratzon hidchilhanu. Zikaron lema'aseh Bereshit. Okay, we're kind of rumbling on that one. Some of the words, by the way, and even with me, you heard me stumble a little bit. What happens sometimes is when a prayer is said over and over and over again, especially if it's something that's sung or chanted, we're used to morphing the vowels a little bit around that melody or that chanting pattern. Let's take a look at a sees Ose and Adonai? Yeah, who's it?
The last word of the first line?
Good, okay. Na'asa. Good. Now let's read this one together. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Na'asa B'Chef Zohol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra. And what's interesting, like this is a great example of what I was saying. Le'et Na'asa is how it's usually sung. Said. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that, the second syllable is not, it's kind of because of it's sung it's that way. Now this is the candle lighting blessing for Hanukkah. Who can see, what's that here? Where do you see it, Tracy?
The first line, the third word from the left.
Good, now how would you read that?
She'asar.
Good. So let's read this one together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim la'avoteinu bayamim ha'en b'zman hazeh, who made miracles in the times of our ancestors and in these days as well. Now this is the Yotzer. This is a prayer that you'll be learning in your prayer section, and it's one that the kids also learn for the bar mitzvahs, but it's one that's not chanted. And what happens with the children is they often feel more comfortable with the chanting ones because they get very much into the melody of it. So this is considered one of the quote-unquote hard ones, but it's mostly considered hard because it's not chanted. So it shows up 6 times here. Who can see the very first one? Good. How would you read that? Yeah. Good. Now this is a good challenge here. How do we know it has to be Oseh? Dayan needs a vowel, and what is the what does the sin have? It has a vowel. Good. Oseh. Now who knows where the second one is? And you also pronounce it. That's exactly right. This is where there's a payoff for coming to service because you hear these things, and then they're like, oh, well, look, that seems or sounds right. That's it. Look, that's how language comes to us. I don't have to speak English. Who knows the second one? Who we got?
The third line, second from the end.
Good. How would you say that? Ma'aseh. And we've heard Ma'aseh Bereshit now a number of times. Ma'aseh Bereshit is the act of creation, which would make sense that in the prayers we talk a lot about the act of creation. Good. Who sees the third one? Mary? Oh, good. But how is that pronounced? No. Good. And now that second vowel should be an asa. Ma'a. Yeah. And everybody sees why that second vowel is an asa. It's got a line, and then the schwa thing is ma'asefa. Good. And the ha ending is your. So your act. Okay, let's see the next one. The fourth one? 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. How would you read that? Can you read that? Good.
There's one before that.
Oh, there's one before. Where's the one before
Right
that?
above the one you just
Just
said.
above.
Okay, good. Read that one. Good. That's it. And notice again that the emphasis on the seed with that main type. The seed type. Okay, which leaves us one more, right? Johnson, do you see it? Yeah.
Second one in from the right.
On the last line?
And the last one.
Okay.
Sita.
Good, good. Let's read this Yotzer all together, but very slowly because it's busy. As the kid said, no speed reading on the Yotzer. Okay. Although the first couple ones we're tempted to speed because we already know them in our heads. But Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Yotzer or uvorei choshech Osei shalom, uvorei et ha'ol, ha'meir la'aretz ve'la'darim aleha, ve'rachamim, u'tuvo mechadesh b'chol yom, tamid ma'aseh Bereshit, Ma Rabu Ma'asecha Adonai, Kulam B'chochma. Everybody see that long tail? B'chochma Asita Mal'a Haaretz Ki Yanecha Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al sheva ma'aseh yadecha ve'al me'oreh or she'asita yifa'arucha seh. Good, good. Yes, Teresa.
I have the Ma'asecha. What's with the yud? I don't see it.
Where is it?
And I don't see it. I'm just confused.
Yeah,
Ma'asecha.
yeah.
First
That yud is there because of the suffix cha. But don't let it bother you. It's an unusual thing, and sometimes when we add on suffixes and prefixes, you'll see a little bit of
It's not
strange.
really pronounced so much.
No.
All right.
What's the significance of the explanation?
Okay, good. So what's happening here, what's interesting about this text is that, of course, in Hebrew, there are no exclamation points, commas, or things like that. But when we get to liturgical Hebrew, especially liturgical Hebrew that's meant to be read by an English-speaking audience, you see the insertion of certain conventions that we would recognize, i.e. commas and exclamation points. So what's happening here is, Marabu Ma'asecha, how wonderful are your creations, Adonai. So it's like a wow thing. So the reader of English of this exclamation point is assuming several things. It's assuming that you understand what you're reading in Hebrew, and that you are familiar with exclamation point and the function of exclamation point. That's what, so you understand how that can only be from a Siddur for an English-speaking audience. Right? The other thing that's happening here is you're getting flooded with metags, with these vertical lines. And the reason for that is that this is, again, coming from a text that's meant to be intoned, as opposed to something that's just supposed to be like read in your head or the Siddur is written in a way that it's supposed to be a communal worship experience. So there's stuff to be said out loud. And so therefore the accent stuff is important.
And in the last word, why is it
Oh, Selah. It's interesting. The dot thing in the middle, remember there's three letters that make a difference on that in terms of the sound, the bet, and the bet, and that. And everything else, it doesn't mean anything. And it's just, it's there in a way that is meant to confuse you. It doesn't change the sound or the meaning of it. That's not the meaning of it. It's there, and I'll tell you why, and I won't confuse us too much. The dots in the middle are called dageshes, and they serve many functions. Most of their functions have died over the generations, meaning that as we look at the evolution of language, they played a role in the pronunciation or in the syntax, which today they don't play that role. So we don't make a different sound for them, and the role that it played in syntax, we don't have that anymore. But what's interesting is the remnants are preserved. It's like looking at traces of things, where if you were a linguist, you would like then write your thesis on what is the meaning of meaningless digestions. Do you see what I'm saying? You could do that if you wanted to, because it would be interesting to
So in Israel, would they using this stuff? Or would this drop out too?
Well, good question. When the dots are dropped, all dots are dropped. So shin-sin dots are dropped, meaningless dagesh dots are dropped, vowels are dropped, codes are dropped. They're all gone. They're all gone.
Okay, and then relatedly, are you saying that like in an Israeli newspaper there are no periods or commas or exclamation points?
That's a good question. You'll see in some newspapers, they've begun to use the conventions that we find in our print. So you'll see that, but it's not native to Hebrew. So exclamation points is not, like Talmud doesn't have exclamation points. But modern language, from an advertising perspective, but also from texting, you know what I'm saying? So there's a mixing of some of the symbols of language now. Actually, I had said I was going to bring a newspaper back, and I didn't bring it.
Is there punctuation in Hebrew?
There is not punctuation in biblical Hebrew. There is punctuation in modern Hebrew. I think it's the best way to say
So
it.
like if you were in a fiction, a book of fiction, dialogue.
Yes, you would see it. You would see it.
Confusing to
Yeah,
the
now
dialogue,
you
but
would
there
see
are
it.
no quotes.
Yes, now you would see it. Now you would see
okay.
it. So let's stop here. Oh, yes, let's stop here, and I want to give you your assignment. Let's do page 92. Now, what's interesting is I find the final Faye one of the most beautiful letters in script. If you turn to page 92, you may share that experience. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's like,
I've already
Will you draw it on the board for us?
decided.
oh, I will try. I will try. There's a better click for here. It's like a hammer. Yeah, we have to go to the page.
Yeah, we do need to close. Just say no.
So you're going to start here, and you'll come up and around. And I didn't draw the proportion.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. And I didn't do it beautifully. I have bad handwriting in English. I'm sorry. I'm not like a good writing person. But that's basic. And also what's helpful is, and I was trying to look at this while looking at that. If you look at the arrows on this thing, that's what's important to look at. So let's do this in slow motion. Actually, you can do it while we're talking.
you need a dot.
You start in a weird spot. You start in the lower corner, and you're going to go up, and then do the first loop.
Oh, I see. Here.
Then you'll do the middle fat belly, and then you'll come down and scoop up the tail.
No, see, I don't think it looks like it's like a V, like you go down. It's like a
I think the arrow.
because that's what I started.
And also here. No, this is, Tracy's asking a really good question. The script is only thing written in Hebrew, in modern Hebrew. Kids don't print.
They don't.
They write script. Almost nobody prints. That said, at TBC, there have been years where we've attempted to teach kids writing. That is no longer attempted. Because what happens is even writing print takes up a lot of time, how much the more so writing script. And our American children in supplementary religious school have almost no need for that. Rather, their primary need is an auditory skill and not a written skill. All right, let's stop. So I just want to give you a little homework assignment because I want to spend 2 seconds before they take me off to services to talk about for people who have parts. So page 92 and 93. point, especially those of you who have kids who are studying for Bar Mitzvah or who are themselves going to services, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this sounds right. Oh my gosh, I recognize this. Because almost all of this stuff is from the services now. So, very good. Let us, yes, please. Yep. Let's go back to 83. Yeah. Yes. No, the third word is Adonai. The Haya Adonai. Yes, on both of those is Adonai. Yud Hey Vav Hey. And also, you know that sometimes Adonai is just written as Yud Yud. Yeah.
It's also the fourth word on the second one, right? Yes.
The fourth word on the second line of the Aleinu, yes, it's in there. You know how only the kids who grow up just knowing that know that they don't pronounce it. Which is why sometimes you'll hear God's name H.
Yeah. This is not
Yeah. But it's not pronounced. So you guys, I want to just follow up with Mara's question. If you turn to page 83, you go to the last line on that page, which is the Aleinu, and you see the fourth word in. I'm sorry, no, it's the fourth one. The fourth word on the third word.
pronounceable, right?
So this word shows up in two places in the Aleinu. So I'm reading on H. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai. And then on the next line is B'yom ha'hu yihyeh Adonai. So what's happening here is that Mary asked a question. How would she know not to go Yehovah? So again, this is the intersection of language and culture and religion, which we can't peel it about perfectly. No child raised in a religious school would ever say Yehovah. Go and ask your children right now, what is Yehovah God? Right? Because they learned from a very, very little age that we don't pronounce that name, that that's God's name. In our tradition, the name of God is sacred, so we don't pronounce it. So, you wouldn't call your mom Estelle. You know what I mean? Like, that names are, names create intimacy and proximity. And, there's still those of us who we have our children instructed to call people Mr. Fenwick. You know what I'm saying? So that it's an important thing that how we use name to either create intimacy or distance, right? So kids who go to religious school grow up knowing that you don't say Yud Hey Vav Hey out loud, you say Adonai, which means the Lord. If you didn't study in the Jewish religious school, you might have thought that that was Yehovah. And we know things like Jehovah's Witnesses, and we know people who, like in critical script, like in texts where they're speaking about Jewish texts, will say Yahweh. Right? So this comes from the tradition of not having a Jewish tradition, but having an understanding of how Hebrew letters sound, without understanding the Jewish tradition behind it. Does that make sense? So that's how you get to Yehovah. A person who says Yehovah is actually pronouncing the Hebrew letters correctly without the background of what is the Jewish context for that. Yeah, question. Sorry, it's
last time was about saying Adonai, unless you're praying, you would never actually say that word in the position.
Right, so good. So this sense of how close is too close, and again, I'll use the analogy of names. So in the Orthodox, that sense of wanting to preserve a little bit of distance is even more so. So the word Adonai, which means the Lord, is even further take a step back by never saying Adonai and saying Hashem, the name. So unless you're supplicating, unless you're directly praying to God, in referring to God, you say the name. Does that make sense? So it's just another step back. It's just another reverential way. Yeah. Okay, so here's the challenge. You have a hey with a down says, "Yihye." A little up, yeah. Because a silent vowel, a nearly silent letter, instead of a group, would make people make Jim's face. WTF? I mean, basically. And we want to avoid that in liturgy. So instead of having that, we have a up. That's a simple solution. Anyway, now that you carry me away, people who are taking part in the service people who are coloring, please go and color. And if you don't know if you're coloring, everybody should color if they can color, because you need help coloring. So guys, those who are taking parts, don't be confused. The people who are doing the Megillah reading, it's a straight reading. The people who are doing the spiel, it's a political satire.
But both are on Haji. Both are on the 8th.
No. Next Sunday, the 3rd.
Spiel
The
is
4th.
on Sunday? Or the spiel is...
Wait, what is Sunday? Is the 3rd? The 4th.
That's the...
Everything is taking place on one day.
On Sunday.
On Sunday. So you can do it.
Yeah.
When you see it, you'll understand why.
Yes, I can.
Can you do it?
What Sunday? The calendar says the spiel is...
No, anything would be fine to say.
Which calendar? What else did you see on the girls on? I put the parents of the kids.
Little kids in the straight one. I mean, it's kind of fun for your moms.